Hey guys, it's Joe from American Trucks, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the Proven Ground Raptor style fender flares fitting all 09 to 14 style side F150s, excluding the Raptor models. Now this is going to be a great option for you if you're looking to get some awesome Raptor styling and protection, as well as some awesome LED accent lighting for the side of your truck at a budget-friendly price. So what do we have going on here with the Raptor style fender flares? Well, first things first, let's talk about build quality, and then we'll talk about features a little bit later on. These are made out of a UV resistant automotive grade ABS plastic. It's going to be durable and lightweight for you. These are going to do a great job at protecting your fenders from any debris flung up from the tires. Now, speaking about tires, that could be a huge concern for a lot of guys out there that want to run a setup with a little bit of extra poke. Legally speaking, you can't have tires that extend beyond the body lines of your truck in order for your truck to be street legal. Now, if you're in that situation, these fender flares can help you out. They're going to provide about 2 inches of extra coverage on either side of your F150, allowing you to run that wider setup. And with our 35 by 12.5 here, these are pretty much flush with our fender flare. Now, obviously, if you're in that situation, you're going to have to consider the offset of the wheel, but these fender flares can definitely help make your truck street legal. Next, let's talk a little bit about looks. These feature that black textured finish on there, which match perfectly with the other black accents on our 13 F150. They really fit in, they really give that Raptor styling, and it looks like these could have come on the truck from the factory. Now, on top of that, one thing I really like about these, those little amber LED accent lights just add so much presence to the front end of the F150. The kit even includes a wiring harness for you to wire those up into the marker lights. That's where I would recommend. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Before we do, a couple of things I do have to make note of. If you have a platinum F150, you will have to remove a little bit of molding in order to make room for the mounting points that these use. And if you have any mud guards on your truck already, they will have to go again in order to make room for the mounting points that these will use. But with that said, a really great set of fender flares. Build quality is up to snuff. Fit and finish was surprisingly good, and the LED accents included in this kit are a nice touch to make your F150 stand out from the rest. Pricing, and this is where things get even better. We're only looking at around $300 for the set of 4. Again, a really good return on investment. These are a great budget-friendly set of fender flares if you're looking to add that legality, add that functionality, and add some style as well. The install for this, I'm gonna give it harder, 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. There's a couple things that go into this. One, there's a little bit of drilling up front. However, it is optional in my opinion. You can get away without it. These will mount up just fine and look exactly like they do right here. We're gonna follow the instructions to a T. I'm gonna show you exactly how to drill if you do wanna go that route. Secondly, wiring. There is a little bit of splicing involved. However, wiring doesn't get any simpler than this. I'm gonna show you exactly how it's done, and ultimately, if you come with the right stuff, it's gonna be pretty basic. So without any further ado, let me show you what tools you'll need and how it's done. Tools we use for this install are going to include the drill and an 1/8 inch drill bit. Those are optional. Impact, channel locks, Sharpie, 5.5 and 10mm sockets, ratchet, wire cutters, wire strippers, Phillips head screwdriver, razor, scissors, some wiring tools such as vampire clips, butt connectors, quick disconnects, and spade connectors. Not pictured in this shot will be the quick detailer and clean microfiber. Obviously, I would recommend working with a clean truck before you install these fender flares. So before we head over to our truck, we have to do a little bit of prep work on all 4 of our flares. This seal right here, this is going to apply to that leading edge there. It's going to keep it off the paint of our truck, prevent any scratches. It's got a little bit of 3M tape in the middle, so we're just going to apply this to all 4 of our fender flares, and then we can start working on our F150. Now that we have this applied all the way along this leading edge here, we're just going to trim it to size with a pair of scissors. Now that we have that trimmed to size, we're going to do the same thing to our other fender flares. We already caught those up off camera. And the next step here, we're going to install these marker lights. The kit includes 2 of them, as well as 4 Phillips head screws to secure them to the front set of flares. And we're gonna do the same thing for the other side as well. So now that we have our seal and marker light installed on the fender flare, we're gonna take care of this guy next, and this is the wiring. I'm gonna do this into our marker light, which is right there. Space is limited, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the headlight out. In order to do this, it's held on with a couple 10mm bolts. That should give us the room in order to wire these up to the marker light, and then we could wire up our marker light on the fender flare. So there's two 10s right up top. There's also one on the side. We're gonna remove, still a 10mm. The last thing holding on our headlight is a clip in the inside of the fender here. So we're just gonna grab the light, give it a firm pull, should pop right out. And now we have all of the access we need to get into that marker light, which is right there. So we removed the headlight just to show you guys a little bit better what is gonna happen to our marker light here. Cut a little bit of a hole in our insulation. Being very careful with the razor blade. See just a little bit of copper. You can do the same thing over here on this wire too. And again, just a tiny bit of copper. And the reason we're gonna do that is because I really like quick disconnects. Ultimately, we're shooting a video here. This guy is gonna have to go back to stock. So I'm gonna install these. If you were looking for a more permanent solution, vampire clips are probably your best bet. I'm just gonna make sure this cut through our insulation. Close that, spin it around. That should be pretty good. You can do the same thing for black. And just like that, good contact, we can close that. Now we have two quick disconnects installed onto those wires. There we go. Now we could grab the other side, and we're just gonna do some spade connectors over here. These just slide around those like that, and we are gonna do that. And you wanna make sure all of the internal wiring is covered up by the heat shrink. We're gonna give that a nice solid crimp. It's not going anywhere. We're gonna do the same thing for the black wire. Now we're just gonna plug these in. We're gonna put red to this yellow wire, and then black is gonna go to black and green. So just like that, we have a successful splice into our marker light. One thing we're gonna have to do before we put this all back together, you can see that this harness splits into two, and there's a long side, which is over here on the left, and a short side, which is over here on the right. We're gonna take that short side, and we're just gonna fish it through our fender so that our harness is going to line up right where our marker light is going to be. Just like that. Now we can put back together our headlight. I only took these out to show you guys how to do it, but I'm just gonna put these back in. Now we could reinstall those 10mm bolts. One thing to note, the threads here are plastic for all three of these, so you don't want to go too hard with the impact gun. So now we just have to do some wiring. This is the same wire you guys just saw, came out right in front of that front tire. I'm just gonna remove this heat shrink, and this is gonna be pretty simple. Grab a pair of wire strippers. Now we're just going to attach these two wires together. You want to make sure these are sized up correctly. You don't want any of that internal wiring exposed. That's not going anywhere. And we're going to do the same thing over here as well. And we're gonna do the same thing for the positive wire as well. So now we have our wiring all taken care of with the fender flare. Now we can actually mount the thing. I'm gonna run you through how we're gonna do this. We're gonna remove the factory hardware and reuse most of that stuff. However, again, there is a little bit of drilling involved. So 5.5mm socket right here. There are 3 bolts in here, one right here, there's one right here. The top is going to be empty. We're going to apply a speed clip to that. There's another bolt right here, and we're gonna end up drilling our 1/8 inch hole in this piece below the headlight right here. But we gotta remove the factory stuff first. So again, 5.5mm socket. We're gonna pull all those bolts out. And again, put that aside because we are gonna reuse it. Now, like I mentioned, the hole at the top is empty. However, the kit does include these speed clips. That just gives the bolt a little bit of threading to catch. Just gonna insert that over the top of this hole. Now we can install these mounting brackets to the 3 positions on the actual arch itself. We're gonna use that speed clip in the middle for one, and then we're going to go to this position as well as this position for these attachment points. We're gonna use the factory bolts for these 2 on the outside, and we're gonna use the screws in the kit for this one right in the middle. And we're gonna use factory hardware for the last 2. And just a quick note, these are slotted, so if you do need a little bit of up and down adjustment, once we get the fender flares on, you can come back and loosen these up, make an adjustment, and then tighten them back down to make sure your flare sits nice and flush to the body. So now we can put up our flare. We're gonna use the screws that come with the fender flares for the arch, and then the factory bolt at the bottom here. So next up, we come to our last and final mounting point, and that is all the way up here at the front. This hole, it doesn't exist. We're gonna have to drill it out. There's no factory hole there whatsoever. We're gonna drill it out with an 1/8 inch drill bit. We're then gonna slide this little threaded clip over the body and then run through a screw to secure it up at the front. Now, in my opinion, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. This fender flare isn't going anywhere. The other mounting points are perfectly fine. It's really up to you whether or not you want to drill this part. I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. So again, 1/8 inch drill bit. I'm just going to push in where I'm going to want this to be. Then we're going to run the drill. Not too bad, only going through plastic. We're going to then insert our threaded clip here. All we have are these threaded speed clips, and I've already done this up camera, but just hold the fender flare up, take a Sharpie, mark this inside lip here where those holes are gonna be, and then just slide on your clips. I'm gonna do that right now. Keep in mind, the layout of my clips is going to be approximately where they're gonna line up on the fender flare. Now we can put our fender flare up and tighten it down with the 4 Phillips head screws. But that's gonna do it for me. It's also gonna do it for the Proven Ground Raptor style fender flares, fitting all 09 to 14 F150s that are a style side, excluding the Raptor models. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more like this one. Keep it right here at American Trucks for all things F150.